Triton Pro, the workhorse of my live Vampyrouss career.
Yeah, when you started in the band, our previous keyboardist had always written parts for lead playing, and his left hand would be playing a kind of a back-in bass line, but not the same as the bass line that Robert would be playing. But over time it got too complicated for him to be able to play both parts at once, when there'd be lots of melodies going on, plus this back-in bass sound, which is fine on a recording, but we decided to get a second keyboardist involved, who had been taking photos and videos of us for a couple of years anyway, so that's when you entered the band. And obviously we needed a keyboard because we only had the PA50 at the time. We never really had the need to experiment with it. We just needed to find similar sounds to what had already been written. And it kind of carried on like that, even as you became more part of the band. The instrument didn't really come into its own. We always just used it. We need to find a string sound that will sound like the one from the PA50.
Just replicating the sounds from the other Workstation, but the Triton has the power to do that.
And sometimes the sounds from it that you've created to sound like the P50 ones actually help create a new part for you to play.
Well, yeah, trying to have two keyboardists playing songs with multiple layers. It's quite handy these days that you can literally just layer up strings, bring some choirs in, mix it all together. You can create quite a full sound with quite simple keystrokes.
Yeah. You often use the sounds from the Triton MIDI cabled to the micro Korg as a sort of a keytar.
Yeah, I kind of made a harness for the micro Korg, which is a very lightweight sort of miniature keyboard, designed as a kind of
analog synth, but digital.
A digital analog synth. Originally, I didn't realise that on the back here somewhere is a brightness control.
Yeah.
So when we first got it, I thought the screen was packing in, and sort of would have to sort of squint to see it, and then we lent it to a local musician, Greg, for he's going off to do a musical or something, and his Triton had packed in. So he needed to borrow one, and okay, yeah, borrow it. And I came back, he gave it back, and suddenly the screen was fantastic. It's oh yeah, you had your brightness on like 2%.
Yeah.
My Gothic art, obviously.
Our trademark song.
Which still played to this day. And it's been an interesting challenge taking newer keyboards and trying to recreate this sort of vintage Vampyrouss sound.
There is an advantage to all the keyboards we've had since the second Vampyrouss demo have been Korgs. So with a little bit of tweaking you can usually find an adequate sound. Might be slightly renamed.
Yeah,
but it's pretty simple to, especially nowadays. They usually have the same sounds from the previous ones on there.
You know, but the Triton has very solid strings, which especially touring the Dark Desire album, it's pretty string heavy. It's an orchestral piece, so I do spend much of the album with strings and quiet, or a combination of the two.
Maybe a little bit of brass here and there.
Well, with other songs, believe it. Got a bit of brass. Well, before recording the album, we'd been playing the song Reflections of the Past for quite a while, and I don't know, just kind of really the sounds just really filled it out and made it, well, it sort of helped encourage that we keep it for the album rather than...
Yeah, definitely, it was one of the deciding factors of the song.
You know, so it's not quite as crisp as the studio recording, but we did use the Oasis.
But on the single version of Reflections of the Past, you did use the Triton. On the album, we broke everything down into single layers. So if there was a string section playing, it would be violins, cellos.
Literally constructed a synthesized orchestra.
Yeah, and we tried to make it sound as realistic as possible, only playing in octaves that realistically you could play on those instruments. Whereas on the single version, we played completely live as a 7-piece.
A kind of more rock band orchestral.
It was how we were playing live at the time. We wanted to capture that on the recording. So that was very much you got to shine playing what you would actually play live, as opposed to...
If we had an orchestra.
Yeah. So you joined us in 2006 and you pretty much used the Triton from
solidly through to 2010?
When we did Reflections of the Past, and that was the last thing we recorded on the Triton. And then when we took a break, we came back with our EP and we started rehearsing to play live. And you carried on using this for a little bit, but we have since upgraded to... I started writing on the M50, so we got another M50 which we use for Reg and myself, so we've both got the same sounds that I've been writing with, and the Triton has been retired, but it still works perfectly. It's never going to let anyone down.
Goodbye, old friend.